And then there were 4. The Bengals and Chiefs will battle it out at Arrowhead for the right to represent the AFC in Super Bowl 56. For Cincy, they entered the season with 150-1 odds to win it all, with a projected win total of just 6.5 games. But it's been all about defying the odds all season long for the Bengals. Joe Burrow made a miraculous recovery from that torn ACL and looks like he'll be one of the faces of the franchise and the league for the next decade or more. His stellar play led Cincy to their first AFC North title since the 2015 season. And after closing out 2 games late to start the playoffs, the Bengals now find themselves on the doorstep of reaching their first Super Bowl in 33 years. But internally, this is something they expected all along.
I'm tired of the underdog narrative. We're a really, really good team. We're here to make noise.
On the other side, it looked like the Chiefs' season was on life support against the Bills in the divisional round, down 3 with just 13 seconds to go. But 2 people that never lost faith, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid.
And when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper. And go get it. So he did that.
After pulling off the win in overtime in an instant playoff classic, the Chiefs are now 1 win away from reaching their 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. Will Mahomes have another magical performance in front of one of the most raucous crowds in the NFL? Or can Joey Franchise keep transforming a franchise that is still searching for its first Lombardi? We're going to find out Sunday on CBS.
Yes, a memorable divisional round weekend with 4 walk-off wins. We've reached championship Sunday with a pair of title games to look at, to discuss. Let's welcome in 2/3 of the Pick Six podcast, Ryan Wilson, Will Brinson. First off, props to Will, whose Super Bowl pick of the Bengals and 49ers still alive. If that would materialize, it would represent the 3rd time these 2 teams would meet on Super Sunday. And good news for the Bengals, Joe Montana no longer plays quarterback for San Francisco. But first things first, Cincinnati has to get past the Chiefs team that has averaged 42 points in the playoffs. KC giving 7 to the Burrow and the Bengals, a total of 54 and a hook. Will, we kind of know where you have to go here. So, Ryan, let's start with you. How do you view this game?
I'm a little nervous about which side to pick. I didn't know that Brinson already picked the Super Bowl. He has about 10 Super Bowl predictions, so it's not uncommon to think that he has at least hit on one of those. But I'm going to go with Kansas City to cover. And again, I a little squeamish as I say it, but I just can't imagine going against Patrick Mahomes in Arrowhead. I think that Andy Reid quote is probably one of the greatest quotes in football history. When it's grim, be the Grim Reaper. And Patrick Mahomes took that to heart, and in 13 seconds, he marched the team down the field and did a much better job with 1 second less than what Dak Prescott had on that QB sneak that ended the Cowboys seasons a few weeks ago. I love what the Bengals have done. I love the fact that our buddy John Breach, who works with us on the Pick Six podcast, is getting to see this Bengals team win a football game, win 2 playoff games, the first time ever on the road. But I think it ends this weekend in Kansas City because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid is Andy Reid. And that defense may not be great, but you don't need to be great when Patrick Mahomes is your guy. So I like them to cover that number, even though at 7 points is a lot. I think Mahomes has it in him.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not thrilled about apparently being boxed in on my against the spread picks here and having to pick and really my straight up picks and having to pick the Bengals to upset the Chiefs. This is my pre-playoff bracket that I put together. I'm 13 seconds away from perfection there, and part of my plan was I believe that the Bengals could beat the Buffalo Bills. The Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, and the Grim Reaper also ruined my 4-team moneyline parlay that would have paid out 35-1. Thank you for ruining my Sunday evening, Patrick. That being said, look, the Chiefs were up 21-7 in the first matchup a few weeks ago. Kansas City can absolutely blow anybody out, but we see it. We already seen a certain guy,
Tyrann Mathieu.
I don't know if that played or not. But
Yes.
it did. Tyrann Mathieu.
Yes. Yes, the drop.
He didn't practice on Tuesday, which I think is that's Tyrann Mathieu for those who didn't.
That's a Pick Six drop. If you don't listen to the Pick Six podcast, that's a drop. That's a classic one right there. Well done.
Yeah, the Honey Badger didn't practice. I think that's a concern. We saw the Bills able to move the ball pretty easily against the Kansas City defense. And Joe Burrow, I mean, who wants to bet against this guy? He just shows up in huge games and must-win games and plays extraordinarily well. He got sacked 9 times, and they still took care of business against the Titans. I expect him to come up, to show up in a big way in Kansas City. I know he's talking smack about the crowd noise, but I do agree with him. I mean, LSU Bama's a pretty loud setup down there in Baton Rouge, right? And I also think that even if the Chiefs get up 7, 10, 14, whatever it is, how many points it is, this is a Bengals offense that could quite easily come through the back door and cover if they need to. So I'll take the Chiefs. I'll take the Bengals, plus the 7. And for the brand, I'll take the Bengals to win outright.
He prefers Tyrann Mathieu. That's great. It's great. Look, it reminds me of one of the times I was messing around and I said Evan Longoria instead of Evan Longoria.
There you go.
I said it on the air.
We all have it in us.
And I was just messing around.
That's just how Breach says it.
I know. I know.
It's not like a slip up.
Well, now he knows. All right, let's get your top player prop for the AFC Championship. Bengals beat the Chiefs in Week 17. Jamar Chase set a rookie record with an eye-popping 266 yards. Ryan, what's your top prop for the rematch?
By the way, guys, cautionary tale, when you hear Tyrann Mathieu drop 50 times, you forget how to say his actual name. So when you're talking, doing a radio hit or doing an HQ hit, you end up calling him Tyrann Honey Badger because you just can't remember how to pronounce his last name. So thank you, John Breach, for that. I'm going with Joe Mixon over 57.5 rushing yards. He hasn't hit 65 in the last 5 games. I thought he would get more work last week against Tennessee. It didn't happen. That front 7 in Tennessee played extremely well. But I think he has a chance to get going on the road in Arrowhead. Joe Mixon is going to need him to get going. And as Brinson noted, when you're sacked 9 times, you can't keep dropping back and letting your quarterback take that beating. So I think Joe Mixon gets started early. He gets the running game going. He keeps Patrick Mahomes on the bench, and he keeps Joe Burrow upright, and also keeps Tyrann Mathieu from perhaps making a play downfield on a Joe Burrow pass. So there you go. I'm going Joe Mixon over 57.5.
So fun.
Well, I think that you could even correlate our 2 props here in this game, Ryan, because if Joe Mixon is over his rushing total, it means that the Bengals probably have a lead, that they're pounding the football, and that we're not going to see a whole lot of Clyde Edwards-Helaire running the football for Kansas City. The Bengals rush defense, they need to get, Larry Ogunjobi's disappearance is a problem, but they did a good job sort of bottling up the Titans and Derrick Henry, although certainly Dante Foreman had some success. Hello, Mike Vrabel. I think with Darrell Williams back at practice and with Jerick McKinnon, Derek Gore in the mix a little bit, you're going to see just a wider disbursement of carries and rushing yards for the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't expect them at any point to really lean into the ground game and slow things down. I do think they'll have to pass regardless of the game script. And so I like the under on Clyde Edwards-Helaire rushing yards, 37.5.
I still have a Bengals 20-1 ticket when we were doing AFC picks about a month ago. And Will said, why don't you go with the Bengals? And I did. So I got a ticket hanging out there right now. Wow. So we'll see. We'll see. Well, look, you know why I'm rooting for the Bengals, not just for my bankroll, but because I want them to put more pressure on the Cleveland Browns. That's from my point of view. Will is going to take the points of the Bengals. Ryan says, no, Chiefs are going to cover. Top player prop, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, under 37.5 rushing yards. Ryan's top player prop, Joe Mixon, over 57.5 rushing yards in the AFC Championship on Sunday, a game you can see on CBS.
Don't let the man across from you fool you. Doubt is your real enemy. No, it won't be the GOAT and the gunslinger. The NFC title game will instead feature a pair of quarterbacks called into question at every turn of their careers. They said your stats were hollow, even drafted the guy to take your job. Doubt be damned. You're here for a reason. 1, 2, 3. The Niners and the Rams will offer up a 3rd installment on Sunday for the right to represent the conference in Super Bowl 56. For San Francisco, a road warrior mentality that began in this very building 3 weeks ago. LA to Dallas. Dallas to the Tundra. A bruising brand of football that poses its opponents with a simple question. How bad do you want it?
Our team's been through so many different situations this year that I feel like we never overreact to anything. Our guys just never waver.
For LA, the chance to address the question, one they haven't had an answer to since 2018. In the battle of boy geniuses, it's advantage Shanahan.
We got to get ready for a team that we know has been a really tough matchup for us. They've done an outstanding job, and it's going to be a great game.
But what is past is not prologue. This another opportunity to take back your building. One overrun by scarlet and gold time and again.
It was a tough environment for us to communicate in, really, the whole second half.
Now is the time to block out the noise and make a bit of your own. Appropriate that careers will be defined in the place where anybody can be somebody. The same place a champion will be crowned just 2 weeks later. This Sunday, a chance to pry the pen out of the hand of your critics and write your own legacy. So check your doubt at the door. It's winning time in the NFC title game.
Yeah, the NFC title game offers take 3 for the NFC West matchup of the Rams and Niners. L.A. not only hosting this game, but a win away from having a home Super Bowl, just like the Bucs a year ago. The Rams having won 7 of their last 8, but that one loss, part of 6 straight overall losses to San Francisco, including 3 in a row at home. The Niners having beaten the Packers at Lambeau without scoring an offensive touchdown. They're getting 3.5, a total here of 46. So, Will, what is your outlook on this game?
You know, this is a real Sophie's choice for yours truly because the 49ers were my preseason pick to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, I picked them again, Ryan. The same team, you see, in the playoff to win the Super Bowl before the playoffs started, but yet my heart does lie with the Rams and Matthew Stafford, who I believe would secure his Hall of Fame, like a spot in the Hall of Fame if he wins a Super Bowl. I know people call me crazy when I said he's a Hall of Famer. He's 2 wins away from it. So that's back on you people. However, he may not get there. I'm going to stick with the brand, the preseason brand, the pre-playoff brand, and I'm going to say that the 49ers plus 3.5, good value here. I would guess that ticks down to 3 by the time that this game kicks off. And I think the 49ers are going to win the game. Now, they needed a furious comeback in Week 17 to pull it off. And Jimmy Garoppolo has not been at his best, but there is just a significant matchup advantage when it comes to Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, and Kyle Shanahan holds it. You know, they've been close games, not exactly blowouts, but that tells you that Kyle Shanahan getting the most out of his team versus Sean McVay, who maybe doesn't get quite as much out of his squad, even though they're more talented across the board. I also think the 49ers defense has been playing lights out. They should be able to run. They should be able to score offensively against the Rams, and I think they'll be able to slow down an offense that loves to lean into the run. That's what Sean McVay does. He likes to pound the football, and not a great spot to do it against this 49ers team.
Imagine a player 12 years into his NFL career with 0 playoff wins, and then he happens to get on a hot streak with a really good football team, and Will Brinson's putting him into the Hall of Fame. That's the type of nonsense I have to put up with on a daily basis. Listen to Will Brinson propaganda about Matthew Stafford. A really good football player, but really we're going to put that guy into the Hall of Fame if he happens to make it to the Super Bowl? All right, I look forward to that. Here's the thing. I'm afraid to pick a side, and Brinson sort of laid out why it's so difficult. We know that Sean McVay is 0-6 against Kyle Shanahan. If they go 0-7, it would be only the 7th team since 2000 to lose 3 straight to a team in the same season. The last time it happened was 2017 with the Carolina Panthers. So I'm going to go with the under. It was 46.5. It's down to 46, and that's because these teams, you would imagine, have struggled to score points, especially the 49ers. No offensive touchdown last week. Since Week 14, they haven't been part of a game where there's been 44 total points scored. The last 2 times these teams played, 27 and 31 were the points allowed by the Rams. But I think, as Brinson noted, I don't trust Jimmy Garoppolo, and if the Rams can focus on stopping the run, then you put the ball in Jimmy G's hands, and then that's a different ball game. And I think it's sort of a slugfest. We see a lot of punts, a lot of 3, 4, 5 play drives, change of possession, and these teams are trying to feel each other out, especially Sean McVay, to make sure that this game doesn't get away from them. The good news is Matthew Stafford, he hasn't thrown an interception in the last 2 games, but the previous 4 games he had 8. And in the last 2 matchups with the 49ers, he's had 4 interceptions. So that's also something to keep an eye out for as we move forward.
Well, remember in baseball, they don't put in the best players in the Hall of Fame. They keep them out, in case you hadn't heard about that. So, you could be like Major League Baseball and decide to keep out, guys like that. Let's get your top player prop for the NFC Championship. Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp both had big games in the 2 previous meetings. Deebo had 100 total yards in both games, while Kupp had 100 receiving yards in both meetings. Ryan, you kind of touched on it there. I heard it a little bit with the interception. Perhaps there's a prop there. What's the top prop that you're targeting in the NFC title game?
Yeah, typically, Akeem, when we're talking about the 49ers, my knee-jerk go-to prop is Deebo Samuel over rushing yards. But I'm a little concerned about those ribs. So I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford. As you mentioned, I touched on him a moment ago. He struggled with turnovers over the course of the season, especially the last half of the season. He's been error-free the last 2 weeks in terms of interceptions. He had that weird snap that went over his head that wasn't his fault in last week's playoff game. But I mentioned in the 4 games prior to the playoffs, he's thrown 8 interceptions and had those 4 total interceptions in the 2 matchups with the 49ers. He has been better with the football, but again, we're talking about a half interception, and it's at 110, I believe. So tip pass, mistake downfield, wide receiver falls down. It feels like it could happen, even though he's playing at a Hall of Fame level, apparently. You can make mistakes and throw interceptions, unless apparently you're Patrick Mahomes, who has, I think, it's 20 touchdowns and 1 interception in the playoffs throughout his career. Matthew Stafford, like I said, being the Hall of Fame Patrick Mahomes, but I think he has a better chance of throwing an interception this week.
And let me just point out a quick trend here for you to support that as well, Ryan, because there were 2 scenarios this season, 2 instances where Matthew Stafford went back-to-back games with no picks. In that 3rd game, he threw a pick. We have a situation here, back-to-back playoff games, no picks. Here's the 3rd game. The trend would be our friend to say he's going to throw at least 1 pick.
The haters done? Haters finished?
Yeah, right.
I love Matthew Stafford. I'm just saying. You can get money in your pocket here if he throws an interception, and the trend is our friend. All right, Will,
actually,
what do you like?
I picked the 49ers to win the game, obviously, but I will say one prop that I glossed over relative, similar to that Matthew Stafford pick, Jimmy G. Over a half interception, -140, is an absolute hammer. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, I know people like to be like, oh, Staffording. Well, no, really, Stafford's Garoppoloing when he throws his bad picks, because Jimmy G loves a terrible pick. So in addition to the one I'm about to give out, I would say that Jimmy Garoppolo over a half interception, especially with Jalen Ramsey on the other side, and a opportunistic defense makes a lot of sense. I like Eli Mitchell over 1.5 receptions. Not typically a big receiving back in terms of what he does out of the backfield, but a lot of times, especially when you're getting pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan will scheme up some stuff to get some quick throws out of his hands, or if he's sort of freelancing and has to get to his 3rd or 4th option very quickly because he's he's under pressure. Aaron Donald coming in there, Von Miller. You could easily see him get that ball out quickly to Elijah Mitchell on some dump offs. I think he gets 2 at least, even though just based on the snap count that he gets in that backfield, even though he's not a big receiving back.
All right, Will Brinson, Ryan Wilson, putting knowledge in your mind so you can put some money in your pocket. Guys, thanks. Appreciate it. Enjoy the games. All right, here's a recap of their selections. NFC Championship. Will likes the 49ers. He's picking them to get to the Super Bowl. He likes them. They're gonna get the points, getting 3.5 on the road in LA, and then maybe they'll be back there, according to Will. We'll be right back there at SoFi Stadium playing for Super Bowl. Top player prop Elijah Mitchell over 1.5 receptions. Ryan's going to take the under in the game of 46, and his top player prop Matthew Stafford over a half interception, throws a pick, and you cash. And for all things NFL, and of course a deep dive into Championship Sunday, check out the Pick 6 podcast. Join host Will Brinson and his super friends Ryan Wilson and John Breach, Tyron Mathieu alongside as well, delivering your daily fix of NFL news and analysis. Get you up to speed so you're always in the know. The Pick 6 podcast. Download and subscribe today.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.